Hello and welcome to the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwao. Show proudly brought to us by Bet Power. If you are a punter or a football fan and you love to bet, Bet Power is giving you a great all-round betting experience. Just visit their website and then place your bets, get the best odds, get the biggest wins, biggest payout as well. As the AFCON is nearing a close, you can win something big via Bet Power, and they are proud sponsors of this show. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Nathan Kwao once again. This is the show that helps you digest the AFCON in a very interesting way. All the lovely pre-match talk, post-match talk, analysis, and everything in between. You get all of that served right here on this show. So it's a pleasure and it's an honor to bring you this show. Thank you so much for joining us once again. You can send in your thoughts and comments on the WhatsApp number on your screen, and we'll gladly go through all your comments before the show comes to an end. The semi-final day is upon us in the AFCON. The last 4 teams are still standing. 2 will progress to the final. 2 will have to contest to finish 3rd or 4th. We'll discuss all of that on this show and a lot more. Now, away from the football, though, if you love your athletics, here's great news for you. Between the 24th and the 28th of February, Citi TV is partnering with Athletics Ghana, or Ghana Athletics, to bring you the NISAC, the National Invitational Schools Athletics Championship. It's happening at the University of Ghana, and over 2,000 athletes will be joining us, or they will be there to compete for glory, for honor, and most importantly, for recognized times and possible ways of qualifying to the Olympic Games in France. So that's a great thing, and if you love athletics, just be on the lookout. February 24 to February 28, the NISAC is happening. The National Invitational Schools Athletics Championship is happening at the University of Ghana Stadium in Legon. So that's something for you to chew on even as the AFCON comes to an end. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guests and we get the show on the road. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. Shows proudly brought to us by Bet Power. Let me introduce my guests, 2 guests who have a very unique trait about them, and I'll tell you. Maybe you can guess what the unique trait is. First up is Yao Frimpong. Yao, how are you doing?
I'm all right, yourself?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you for joining us. And Yao Ampofo, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
So I've got 2 Yaos. The challenge is, how do I address...
Yao A, Yao F.
Okay, no problem. I think Yao A and Yao F. I like the differentiation. All right, we're in the last 4 of the AFCON, like I said. And Opta, yesterday we shared a very interesting stat, so maybe I guess we'll have to repeat that graphic again. Opta talks about the potential semi-final winners. So looking at all the things, and like I said yesterday, all this is premised on the things we've seen so far, the numbers, data, everything squished together, shaking in the blender, and all of that, and this is the result we get. Nigeria are 41.7%. They have a 41.7% chance of being winners, or 42% if you like. Cote d'Ivoire are next, 21.2%, DR Congo 20.4%, and South Africa 16.7%. So a Nigeria with the greatest possibility, the highest possibility of winning the competition, and South Africa with the least chance of winning the competition, according to Opta's data analysis, supercomputer, that kind of thing. Let me start off with you. Your thoughts on these projections that Opta has put out?
Well, not quite surprising. If you look at the numbers, like expanded numbers, you're looking at the side that has conceded the most goals in the African Cup of Nations. You're also looking at the side that has created the most chances in the African Cup of Nations. And the other bit is, the Nigerians are self-motivated. Those are some of the elements that do not really add up to the data, but the self-motivation and the key players within the team that are putting themselves ahead of everyone and making the team tick is what makes a difference in all of this data.
I see. Yafrimpong, surprised? Any thoughts on...
Well,
are you surprised? Not surprised?
Well, the main thing is Opta believes that Nigeria are going through to the finals. The other thing is it's going to be close between Cote d'Ivoire and DR Congo. Mm-hmm. But then in terms of the possibility of whoever wins it, I think today will probably be the best marker. After we find out who's in the final, it'll be a little easier to know if these numbers are true or not. Okay. But my projection is Nigeria would make it to the final, but as to whether they win it, I don't think so.
I see. Interesting. So you do agree that they have a good chance of getting to the final. The sticking point is whether or not they win that final. We'll see how it all plays out. Let's see what Opta is telling us on the semi-final winners. The semi-final winners. I don't know if we have that. Okay, so the two teams there. So at least staying consistent with what my guests are saying. Nigeria, almost 69%. There, South Africa, about 34% chance of winning. In the other game, Cote d'Ivoire, the host, 48%, and DR Congo nudging it slightly or edging it slightly, 52% there about. So it's a bit more even in the second game, whilst this first game is heavily tilted towards the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Again, I guess we are not too surprised.
Not too surprised with the first one, but quite surprised with the second one.
I see.
So let me start off with the second one. The second one, why am I surprised? Data doesn't include the fan factor. So we all know the fans are the 13th one on the pitch, and look at Ivory Coast especially. It has always been the fans. Even when you are down by 1 goal, or maybe it's the game is dead, you still have them, the fans cheering them on to come back and then grab a win. That has been the difference for Ivory Coast. They are not playing really well. They have not been impressive in the African Cup of Nations so far. Their numbers are not really great, but especially when you look at the teams that have not conceded in the top 10, you look at those numbers and you realize Ivory Coast is not in the top 10. They are not supposed to be here. When you are conceding, definitely, but what they are doing right is they are getting the goals and the fans are cheering them on to victory, and it has been a difference for them. They are missing a couple of key players in this particular game. Regardless, you still expect the fans who will be in the stadium. There will be a large percentage of the stadium, as in occupying the stadium, but the numbers really will not tell whether they'll be the ones to win today.
I see. Yafin Paul?
No surprises with Nigeria having a high win probability. You look at their numbers leading up to the semi-finals. They've been dominant. They've also managed to keep consecutive clean sheets. And then with South Africa, I'm quite surprised it's that low because they've actually shown that they've shut up shop consecutive games as well. And they've been very, very stubborn to break down. So I was thinking it would be a little higher for South Africa, but yeah, the favorites will definitely be Nigeria. In the second fixture, I was expecting 50-50. I think both teams have a chance, but then the fan factor will certainly make it maybe 52% or 55% for Cote d'Ivoire. But then it boils down to, will they rise up to the occasion? If Ivory Coast do rise up to the occasion, then we'll be down to say that these numbers aren't right. But then let's hope that they do turn up. If they do turn up, it will most likely be that these numbers are false.
Okay.
There's an interesting story about the president of CAF often being in the stadium and being the difference for South Africa. It's not something new. We've heard stories about Madagascar and Ahmad Ahmad. When Ahmad Ahmad is in the stadium, the referees tend to, tilt towards because respect, regards to respect. And it's quite an interesting thing. And I've heard Morocco complaining about something similar with regards to Musepe always being in the stadiums for South Africa. It's something that makes a differential. Maybe people do not believe it, but they say here, if Nyantechi is on the ground, things work. It's quite an interesting thing, but I think the trend is there. And referees often tilt towards 50-50 opportunities. South Africa 50-50, and it's an interesting stuff. But it's something you can add up to the fact that maybe we'll give South Africa a bit of it.
But the percentages there for South Africa are very low. 34% chance of beating Nigeria. So how much really? Even if there are other things added to the narrative, I mean between 34 and
Nathan, we talk about momentum in games. So let's say South Africa come with a style where they are going to be very booty or combative, and the referee is tilting towards them. It changes the narrative. Because as much as Nigeria want to keep the flow going, it won't happen. Because then the referee will be whistling every 20 seconds, every 30 seconds. And in the end of the game, you realize maybe it's 90 minutes, but they have already played only 30 minutes of football in action, and it changes everything.
Okay. We'll see if all these other factors will come to play in the AFCON later today in the semi-final. The first one. Now, for those who don't know, the two semi-finals will be played today. One at 5 p.m., one at 8 p.m. A lot of people are praying that the games do not extend, especially the 8 p.m. game, because if it extends into extra time, more people stay in the stadium and all of that. Okay, but let's focus on Nigeria. We'll focus on the first game, Nigeria and South Africa. Let's see how the Nigerians got to this point, and then we run the rule over how they've done so. We pick out a few interesting things. Then we talk about the South Africans. So first up, Nigeria. Let's look at their path from day one to the semi-final day of the 2023 AFCON. The Super Eagles soaring all the way to the last four of the AFCON. Very interesting path that they've been on. Yafimba, let me start with you. Your general thoughts on the Super Eagles and what you've seen so far from them?
Improvement upon improvement. They've shown experience. Although the team doesn't look so experienced, they've got a couple of people that understand tournament football, where you just have to rise to the occasion when it matters. From the group stages, you would think after the first game they'll lose a bit of focus, but they knew what needed to be done against the host nation, did what they needed to do in the next game, and then it continued from there, really. But the key thing is they have a team mentality. You would think that the African best player would be the star of the team or lead the way in terms of everything that they're doing, but they're doing it together as a group effort, and he's finding ways to make his presence a nuisance as well as an advantage for his team. So definitely Nigeria have shown improvement from day one, and I'm hopeful they continue in the same stead, just because the number of changes haven't been so many, but then the consistency and the style of play remains, and that's something that we don't see really from African nations in tournaments, so it's quite exciting to see.
It's been a very interesting journey for Nigeria. From a fan perspective, lots of them have had to still support the team despite their very strong opposition towards the head coach, Pesero, the style of play. But that style of play has gotten them to a semi-final. It could potentially get them to a final. I don't know what you make of the fans and how they felt versus probably what they are thinking now about the same team.
I think there is good PR around the Nigerian national team.
Okay.
Let me put it at PR because regardless of how they have performed, they still open the doors for fans to get opportunities to engage with the players. Now, beyond the team, I think there are individual factors within the team or facets within the team that you can exploit as a national team.
Okay.
There is no way you're going to hate Osimhen. There is no way you're going to hate Alex Iwobi. These are individual variables within the team that the Nigerians have used to push fans closer to the team. So as much as Nigeria perform bad, the fans will never talk bad about Osimhen. So he's missing status in the African Cup of Nations, but you're not seeing them single him out as the one who, because equally he's putting in effort to make sure there is balance in the team. So that's one good part of the Nigerian national team. And even Pesero himself has made himself available to me. You've seen Pesero dancing to Nigerian tunes. These are tiny variables that make up to... So the Nigerians are seeing Pesero dancing and, he's dancing our music, which is good, means he's adopting our culture. And everyone will love attacking football. Everyone will love transitional football. Mm-hmm. But once the team is winning, no one talks about it. It's something that is, the standard across the world. So Pesero is winning, not their style. Because Nigerians can reminisce the fact that in the last African Cup of Nations, we were playing so well, but at the end of the day, they were knocked out. Mm-hmm. But this time, they are not playing exactly as impressive as they want. And they can also think about their qualifying series. They were scoring a lot, but in key games where you expect Nigeria to be winning the game, they just fall short. And they'll be drawing against the likes of Comoros and then other African countries. So, yes, they are winning, which is quite important. And their statistics, when you watch them, it's quite impressive for a team that are not even possessing the ball so much.
Okay, interesting. The Nigerians doing really well to get to the last four. They take on South Africa, who themselves have had to endure a very, very interesting journey from the group stage to now. Let's see how the South Africans made it through the group stage and all the way to this point of the competition. Ronwen Williams, hero for South Africa, as they went past Cape Verde 2-1 on penalty, saved 4 kicks. Hopefully, he wants to save more. As the South Africans chase another AFCON final. I'm sure they don't want to go through another penalty shootout. But all in all, it's been a very fun journey for South Africa. They've made it to the last 4. Guys, your thoughts on, talking about Nigeria, your thoughts on South Africa? They've gone through a very long route to get here, and they're in the last 4.
Yeah, quite surprising anyway. I think the factor that's helped them is the fact that they have players who have a lot of cohesion, play together for long in the PSL, in the Champions League. You watch their journey in the African Super League, African Football League, like they say. the same thing. And so they have that understanding. And now it's been toward their best. The style they have been playing at Sundowns has been toward their best. But the mentality is still there. If there's a style or a pattern which is quite coherent, consistent, you know, well, even though I'm playing like this, when I get the ball, I make good use of the ball. And the Sundown system is there. And then Hugo Broos has insisted or instructed them to play in a certain pattern. So they are not keeping the ball too much. But when they have the ball, they make good effect or good use of the ball. That has been the difference for South Africa.
Are you surprised that they've had to play a large part of this competition almost on the counter and in transition?
Well, looking at the statistics, that is the strategy. Giving up possession as much as possible and then hitting on the counter because they've got excellent players, wide players that can run into the channels. They only need a good ball delivered to them. You look at the goal Makoba scored. He's just in a channel, balls pass through, and he finishes. That's what they are relying on. But it's about getting the space and time on the ball and finding your player. I don't know if that route will be available against Nigeria, but then they need to explore playing that way. If you rely on the counter against a team that has 4 or 5 players back most of the time, it might not work out as you want it. So it's something that South Africa will need to consider. But probably their defensive wide players, which is their left back, right back, left midfielders, right wingers, they all have to play a role in this particular game against Nigeria, because if they don't support them, like we've seen against Cape Verde and what's not, it will hurt them, because you need to double up against the team that you'll be playing up against.
All right, the Nigerians and the South Africans face each other in what some people have described the Afrobeats versus Amapiano derby. Whatever that means, only people know, but yeah, it's fun. Anyway, so the South Africans are here. They've made an AFCON semi-final. 96, they were in the semis. They beat Ghana on that occasion. 98, they were there. And now they are back in the semis. Their journey, like we've seen, has been up and down. Ronwen Williams, like I said, guided them through that penalty shootout against Cape Verde. And they are here at the semi-final stage. We'll get to the touchpad in a second. Frimpong will be running us through some of the things, really, to note from either side. And maybe you can get to the touchpad and explain to us the strengths and weaknesses, how the two teams can potentially win the first semi-final of the AFCON, which will be played. I don't know whether that's the first or second.
It's the first one. South Africa, Nigeria first.
It's the first one. They left the host nation to play under the lights. I love it. I don't know whether it will go wrong or right, but I love it anyway. Let's get to the touchpad. Right. I don't know what you want to highlight for us today.
So we're going to have a look at certain elements of Nigeria's, the chances they've conceded, as well as the opportunities that will present South Africa. We'll look at the same thing for South Africa as well. All
right, so let's start off with the Nigerians.
So this is the first game against Equatorial Guinea. And already you can see one of the issues or one of the problems with Nigeria in this game, which was they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in this space where ideally they should have their 2 holding midfielders, there's a bit of a challenge, because from the get-go, once Equatorial Guinea have this ball, there's one player here, which is the number 6.
Yes.
He's free. Nigeria, throughout the competition, we've seen that they have 5 men at the back, but the 2 in the middle are probably the most important for them, because now they want to have sort of a box in the middle when they have the possession and when they are without possession. But then in this game, they conceded that goal purely because their number 4 Yusuf over here, highlighted over here, and then Iwobi. Look at the distance. In a normal situation, you want your two holding midfielders to be occupying this position, just so that they can prevent any cutbacks. But we'll find out that once the ball goes forward, again, it only takes you having 1-2 men being beaten with a pass, and then it presents the perfect opportunity for the opponent. And that's done right here. It only needed a good pass on the edge of the box. And it was a very simple finish for him, because keepers blocked, one. Schuster Kong is blocking his keeper's sight. So all he has to do is pass it into the net. But the key problem was because Nigeria did not have people in this position. If they had those two holding midfielders in the right position, that would have prevented the cutback, and probably the result would have been different.
Okay, so because of that, then they go and concede.
So that is something South Africa need to adopt. But we've also seen that South Africa haven't been a team to play cutbacks. They want to go direct and try and use set pieces and whatnot. So we'll move to the next chance, which was against Angola.
Aha.
There we go. Against Angola, the same thing we were talking about that South Africa did against Morocco, which was playing through the channels.
Okay.
Perfect example is what Angola did here. You can tell that the Nigerian line is set. They've got 5 set up beautifully. However, if you play a ball down the channel, down here, or here, you cause some trouble. And that's what they've done here, because once the player's on the ball, he has the option of playing it between those two defenders, Ajayi and Trustikong. And all you need is a good finisher at the end of it to finish the move. So you can see, ball goes through, and really this should be a goal. Angola presented with the best opportunity to score here, and all they needed to do was finish this move. But sometimes you need experience and someone who's patient. And, well, we do see that the keeper did get a touch on it, but that was basically it.
Should he have taken another touch to take him further towards the goalkeeper?
He had the choice of, now that he's gotten on this position, you can go across your defender. It's either he's fouling you, a red card, you get a penalty with 50-50 chance, or what's not, 25. you get a chance to score or miss. But he decided to go the route where, well, he's seen his colleague score something similar. Maybe it's a team joke. I can also do it. And ideally, he should have come across just here. Just take that extra touch. You're risking it, but then now you've set up like a penalty. You just have to pick a position, and the keeper has no choice but to make a choice. And, well,
he didn't take the chance.
He didn't take it, and we found out that was probably one of their best opportunities.
Yeah, the shock on the fans' face says it all.
Then we come to the next one, which was against Guinea-Bissau. Still.
Okay, you just run it on.
Well,
okay.
I'm sure.
Clip.
Yes, against Guinea-Bissau. We were talking about the same thing, something that South Africa can explore. It's quite similar. When they have, 1, 2, 3, 4, ideally it should be 5 players at the back, but their right back is in back yet. So it's 4 at the back now. The best thing for any club to do, or any team to do really, is you need to try and draw your players out, as well as take advantage of the fact that you have players coming in. We saw Nigeria conceded because of a cutback. And similarly, an opportunity came here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the Guinea-Bissau players here. And all they need to do is make up their minds, are we going into the box directly? Or, well,
apologies there.
Or we're going to find a route to put the ball somewhere here.
Okay.
Because we saw what Equatorial Guinea did. Same here. They decide that, look, we can find a way to put it at the edge of the box. But the challenge I have with this is we've seen what Nigeria don't like. Balls down the channel. Ideally, that ball, this player is an offside. You want to put it here just so that when he moves the ball, he moves into this position. Well, he'll move into this position.
Okay.
All he has to do is cut the ball across for this number 9 to just finish the move.
But of course, in this sequence,
he doesn't do that.
Well, he doesn't, but I'm just wondering, I'm just trying to think about the player in possession and maybe what he's also thinking, because I'm sure he must have seen his teammates and he's wondering, maybe he's offside. If I try that pass, the move goes dead. He gets flagged.
But it's a better risk going to create a 2v1 than you're shooting from outside the box. There's a cutback right there, no doubt. But then if you're shooting with, 1, 2, 3 Nigerian players in there, there's a high chance you're hitting a body or it's going into the path of the keeper. And you can see the keeper is well positioned over here. He can actually see. If he couldn't see, it's good you take a shot. But keeper has good eyesight of the ball and, he makes the save. But that's an indication for South Africa that, look, if I can try and create 2v1s to have simple balls into the box, I could cause some trouble for Nigeria. There is also the other chance that Guinea-Bissau also had, which was quite similar, but again, they were using the channels. What they did here is they made sure that this particular defender, they would isolate him. They've noticed that Nigeria always keep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players at the back. The only way, if you want to break down 3 at the back or 5 at the back, is you try and bring one of the central defenders out of position, and then now you create a back 4 again. But you always have an extra player, which is the player they have here. He's free. So as he's drawn him out, this player just needs to run onto the ball. Either they're passing it to him, he can have a shot, or, again, they go through the channel. So as you've seen here, now he's through. Now he's through. All he has to do is finish the move. And, I mean, he did finish it. It was quite simple. Nigeria don't like you playing it down the channel. That is the key takeaway. And when you have a team playing 3 at the back as well, for a team like South Africa, we saw towards the end against Cape Verde where they put in crosses from deep. 2 crosses, consecutive crosses, and they almost scored from those. That is what they have to explore, because from deep, 3 defenders, one will say, you handle it, before you realize your player's at the end of it and you score.
I see.
We look at what South Africa can do.
So Nigeria are not totally indestructible. It's
Not
just
at all.
Teams just haven't exploited the weaknesses well enough.
Exactly. And the other thing with Nigeria is because of that box, they have to, they talk about some coaches will let inverted defenders come.
Yeah, fullbacks.
What they are doing is they're playing something similar, but instead they're playing actual defensive midfielders in there. They don't go anywhere. And they have 3 at the back and 2 laterals. So the 2 laterals actually are the ones doing the pushing. And then Lukman and Simon, they are running off Osimhen. So you have 2 boxes that they can actually build up with. And it also protects them. There's also an added layer of protection for them. So that's why they look like you can't break them down. But if you can get them out of position, then you can hurt them.
Okay, I see.
I think this is one of the things South Africa can take advantage of, because look at the numbers in the African Cup of Nations, especially with counter-attack, and it's very low. I think the technical report that came out regards to the African Cup of Nations, one of the lowest things compared to the last African Cup of Nations was counter-attack. Teams were not making use of counter-attacks. So if they don't make use of these opportunities, no chance to
And another thing is with Nigeria, one thing is they never let Calvin Bassey, Troost-Ekong, and Ajayi, very disciplined players. So you want to be putting those balls down the channels so that they can move away from the centre-back positions.
Okay.
When
and force them
to go wide, and then you can isolate Troost-Ekong or Ajayi, and then you can hit them with a direct attack. So that's something worth exploring for South Africa.
All right. Let's see what you have noticed about the South Africans.
There's quite a lot just from this game. Well, the first thing is, for South Africa, the first thing is their right back, and their left back, now he's injured, but those are the problem areas. And if you've got people like Olaina, Sanusi, Lukman, and Simon, people that would love to run into spaces, you would be happy that these are the laterals you'll be playing against. I say this because as much as South Africa want to be as compact as possible, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, you realize that they want their centre backs and their left back and right back to be narrow. They are expecting that ideally left back, left midfielder, right midfielder will be coming back to support. They will be coming back to support. But because they don't support, they are trying to set up for a counter-attack because they are not supporting them. They're leaving it this way. It leaves them very exposed. And we've seen Nigeria against, was it Angola? Yes. They just had to move the ball back, and then Lukman just finished it. If they're not careful, Nigeria will take advantage of these, one-on-one or 2v1s, however you want to look at it, because left central midfielder has joined his left mid against the right back of South Africa, and all he has to do is, if he passes to him, he doesn't need to put the ball in the box because it's crowded. He needs to pull it out to the edge of the box, and we'll see that right now. They move the ball forward, and here, if you're not making this tackle, if you're not preventing the ball going out, if you're making sure the ball's coming into the box, you have a problem. You have to ensure it's not coming in if you don't have enough players back. Because you might have your four defenders, all right, but you only have 2 other players in there. And your defenders are already occupied with 1, 2, 3, 4. You're not quite sure where the ball's going to go. So there's a bit of uncertainty over here. Mm-hmm. So once the ball comes in, all they have to do is edge of the box. Ideally, this should have been a goal. It should have been either straight to this player, and he has the shot, or he goes for it himself. You shoot. You make an attempt on goal. Player blocks it, keeper blocks it. It's better than you trying to dribble your way through. And that was a clear indication that South Africa had set up, not to concede, but also trying to take this game as far as possible, because they know that the attacking quality of Cape Verde probably was more superior to theirs. The same ball we're talking about, it was down the line. But because Mr. Defender, he's been up and down the pitch, he has too much work to do, and he takes his eye off because of the inverted run. And this is a similar run to what Lukman or Simon will be making. They always run down here. They make it very difficult for the centre-back and the lateral to decide who's picking him, because they have other players coming in. Right now, defender is more concerned about this player, so he can't go, centre-back can't go. And once he's through, again, he should be finishing this, because now you're through on goal. Angola have taught you that you can score from this angle. All you need to do is finish the move. Then there's...
Clearly that's not as easy.
Well, It's not easy, but the talent, you're playing AFCON, you have the talent. You have the talent. Here, he should be, we're talking about this earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
As the ball's coming, again, from wide areas, you can tell that South Africa need to be wary because Nigeria have people that can put quality balls from their half or closer to their center half, as well as when they are actually by the byline. So you have to prevent those balls from coming in. And we've seen that once the ball comes in, South Africa don't deal with them. They don't deal with them. They're not first to the first ball. They're not first to the second ball. And that allows Cape Verde another chance. Ideally, if he went with a bicycle kick mentality, he would be finishing it because then he's off the ground. He's at a proper height to hit the ball properly. And that was probably some of the problems with South Africa that Nigeria could exploit if they take it serious. The same ball has been played over and over again, which is a ball down the channel. And all he had to do was finish it. It's coming, and all he had to do was ensure that he's got enough time. Some people believe that he should lob it or go across the keeper. But in this situation...
that would be difficult. The ball is coming across you.
Across your body, and he's dominantly a
right foot, and he's...
Just tap it.
So what?
Just tap it.
You should tap it.
No, that would be tough.
Or take an extra touch.
I think an extra touch allows the defender the chance because you bring it down. The ball is coming across.
Yeah. So
now, if you are trying to kill that ball, or take an extra, because one touch. Look at Ronwen Williams' starting position.
He's making himself as big as possible.
The young guy was going for a bit more power in the game compared to any of the techniques that you know. If he had been patient a bit, then you can have a good grasp of the ball. Maybe this one in this situation is quite different because the ball was in motion.
I get it. My verdict, I think fantastic goalkeeping from Williams.
Yeah, Williams read it and he knew he's going same place I'm coming from. If he goes across me, there's a high chance he's missing.
He's missing.
If he's lobbing me, fine. Fair to him, he'll score. But then if he's going for power, and I think he had seen that he's been going for power. So he was always going to save that. And it was a brilliant save.
It's a fantastic save.
He keeps showing why he's probably the best keeper at this AFCON.
Fantastic save. Because that ball goes in, it's game over.
Yeah, it's
done.
Yeah.
Extra time.
And you could tell the celebration as he turns, looks at the post, he realizes the ball is not, he picks it up, he's jumping up and down.
And the awareness, as well as awareness to just get up. You know, you made a save. Sometimes you're slow to get up to your feet, and opponent gets the second ball, finishes it. But he was quick to his feet, and he got hold of the ball, and that just meant that the attack was ended.
Interesting. So, I mean, from what you've highlighted, and Yampov, maybe you can come in here. South Africa do have a problem defensively. They are not as organized as Nigeria, and they can be exploited wide, because they set up to play on the break. So people like Percy Tau and Themba Zwane are not coming back, hoping that the opposition loses the ball and the ball comes back to them. That's interesting.
I think they're defending with 5, but attacking with 5. Quite different from what Cape Verde were doing, attacking with 6, defending with 4, or Nigeria are doing with attacking with 4.
Yeah, and then you defend with almost 6
players. So different variations. But I think he has approached the games dependent on the kind of play that the opponents have.
I see.
Because I've seen him attacking with just 3 players before in games where it was quite difficult for him. But against Cape Verde, I think he opened it up a bit because he felt, I'll get opportunities, so let me get the chances to score. And the positions in which Percy Tau has picked in this tournament is quite different from the Percy Tau we know. But I think he's also adapting to the team because of the manager's instructions. You typically want Percy Tau on the left side, where he cuts in and gets the opportunities for you. Look at what he's doing in El Ali or maybe under the previous managers of South Africa. And it's quite different. The variations are different. And, well, credit to Hugo Broos anyway.
So, if you are Hugo Broos and you are thinking about this encounter, how can he ensure that his team stays in this for as long as possible?
He's got the players to mirror what Nigeria have done.
Okay.
That's one alternative. but then your instruction...
So you play same shape?
Same shape, and your instruction would be to keep as compact as possible, but don't allow your fullbacks to enjoy or join the attacking phase of the game. You want to keep it as compact as possible, and then frustrate the Nigerians. Once the Nigerians start taking shots from outside the box, you know it's working. They want to actually build up and get into your box and make it as easy as possible. A 2v1. Osimhen as a decoy, he passes it across for someone. From deep, they cross it. Somebody's getting at the end of it. You want to prevent those crosses. And I think the training or focus of everything for this particular game should be, we should be first to every ball and second ball. Because once you allow Nigeria in and around your box to get on the ball, they have the quality and patience to actually find people, and that might be a concern. Another thing is, try and don't be so defensive. You have to make sure, if you're going with 3 attackers, make sure they're causing problems for Nigeria. You've got Makwena, who's actually quite technical. He's gifted technically. Yeah. Allow him to let the ball travel a bit. You've got Zwane, you've got Percy Tau. They can chase the ball. Put it into space. Trusticon is not the quickest. Calvin Bassey can chase, but his touch or his technical ability can be a bit dodgy, and you can take advantage of that. That's what they need to do. If they set up to just defend 90 minutes, they'll be found wanting.
Let's turn the story on its head. Nigeria, how can they be exploited? What should South Africa do to get some change out of Nigeria?
We showed that the channels are available. If you put it between right wing back and a right centre back, running down into the channel, someone from left wing or even from the middle, from deep, runs onto the ball, you've got a good opportunity to score. We've seen Angola do it. We saw their last opponents also do it. We saw Guinea-Bissau also do it. So those are some of the variations you can do. But then when you have possession, you have to build up to try and put a cross in. I say a cross because Trusticon might get to the ball, but Calvin Bassey and Ajayi too might get to the ball. So you target Calvin Bassey, or you target the left wing back. So you're crossing it across the field or across the box.
But do the South Africans have I've not seen them dominate aerially, and that Nigerian backline is huge.
You're not trying to score from it. You're trying to get the ball into the box, and then you cut her across. That is what they should do. They've shown that they could put crosses in, but obviously the opponents will always deal with them. But if you're putting it in from deep sometimes, and player running into it, Percy Tau, I've seen him use his head to score. I think you can rely on his experience because he can time his run. Runs onto the ball, he finishes the move. So from deep, they need to try balls over the top for their forwards to chase. Once they do that, they could cause some problems. And we've seen that Nigeria, if you can dribble and bring it to their box, and you bring it to the edge of their box, you have a chance to score. Onyeka, Iwobi, Yusuf, they all have their good traits, but sometimes alertness might be missing. So if you can put the ball on the edge of the box, have someone who's technically gifted, they'll finish the move.
All right. Before we go on a break, thank you very much, Yao. Before we go on a break, let's have a look at the war, quote unquote, between Osimhen and Evidence Makopa. Now, these two players will lead the line, and that's what you have. Both men have scored 1 goal each. They have 1 assist each. In terms of the non-penalty XG, I think Victor Osimhen is about 3.09, and Evidence Makopa is about 1.09, and all of that. Yampa, who's coming out tops on this? The battle of the strikers, Victor Osimhen and Evidence Makopa.
I don't think it will be down to goals, no. It will be down to who is winning the duels for the national team. And if South Africa are going to go long, they will depend on Evidence to do it. But most dominantly, the person winning the duels as a striker in the African Cup of Nations, Victor Osimhen. And Nigeria will depend on him, especially within the areas. And if they want to go long, sometimes you clear the ball. And within the South African setup, one key thing is some of their defenders are prone to mistakes. And it's something they can really exploit. So when you loft the ball in, you have Victor Osimhen chasing after the players, force them to go long or force them to just clear the ball, they are unsettled. Then the ball comes to Nigeria, they can reshuffle the ball, and then they can get back running. And it will be some of the key things. Beyond that, I think the goalkeepers make the difference.
I see. So Ronwen Williams and then Nwabili of Nigeria. But finally, before the break, Yampo was talking about Osimhen and the physicality. That will be a headache for South Africa. They need to figure out how to keep him quiet, because from that Cameroon game, if you dolly on that ball, he's coming for it.
Yeah, he's one of those players that will press you to death. He's got the legs to do it. So once the ball's coming, don't allow it to bounce, because we saw against Cameroon and even Angola, when there's a bounce, it means you've given him a chance to chase the ball, and he'll try and get a head on it or a touch on it just so he can also further run you down. So it's important for South Africa to ensure they deal with the first ball. Over the top, wherever it may be, through the channels, there's always someone following the runner, which is Osimhen. And if they can do that well, as much as it might be an inconvenience to your defensive setup, it might help you to just cut the supply to him. If you know it's Iwobi that's going to be spreading the passes to him, don't allow him the time on the ball. If you can prevent that, then you'll be fine in the fixture.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. Nigeria versus South Africa, and what some have dubbed the Amapiano versus Afrobeat derby that will be played later today in the first semi-final of the AFCON. So like we've established, Victor Osimhen will be very important. The South Africans need to be on the lookout. Like we said, if you dilly-dally on the ball, he is going to come for it. We'll see how it plays out. It should be fun. It should be great. Predictions. Okay, let's keep the predictions until later. Before we sign out, I'll ask you what your predictions are. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we get into the other semi-final encounter between two countries who have a very interesting culture of love, joy, music, and the flamboyant things of this world, La Côte d'Ivoire and DR Congo. We'll discuss them in detail after this short break. This is the AFCON Daily Show, proudly brought to us by Bet Power. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan. Our show is proudly brought to us by Bet Power. If you want to enjoy a great betting experience, Bet Power is your friend. Visit their website, place those bets on those games, win big, because they've got the best odds, the biggest winnings, and the largest payouts. My guests are still here. It's a Yao double act, Yao Mpofu and Yao Frimpong. We've been talking about South Africa versus Nigeria, the first of the two semi-finals. A few interesting notes. Nigerian goalkeeper Francis Nwabali's club, he plays in South Africa, coincidentally, for Chippa. And guys, Chippa are saying that they support Nigeria.
Interest.
I'll be happy. I'm happy to see that.
I don't know how the South Africans are reacting to that, but it's interesting. Chippa said they are supporting Nigeria. They want their goalkeeper to win the AFCON.
I
think there are a couple of conversations in South Africa about the dominance of Sundowns. People wanted a bit of more of the balance, even though Sundowns were playing so well. Chippa would want interest in Nwabali because they know if he's sold from the African Cup of Nations, that's good money coming to the Chippa team. And Sundowns are benefiting in large amounts if there's any sale of their player after the African Cup of Nations. With a team of 8 Sundowns players and an extra one that comes in, there's still a Sundowns player.
I guess it must really grate the other clubs. Chiefs, well, Pirates do have evidence, Makopa, but Chiefs don't have any player. Kaiser Chiefs don't have any of their players.
It's also a reflection of where the teams are now. So it's quite important that you've seen this. Maybe you now put measures in place to produce talent that will be worthy for the national team. That it should be an inspiration or a motivation for them. Rather than
it shouldn't divide them. It shouldn't be a point of debate. Yeah. Okay, we'll see what happens. I'm sure South Africa's, how do I even say, the conversation on social should be fun to watch. Also, on a more serious note, though, the Nigerian High Commission in South Africa issued a statement warning fans to be very magnanimous in their celebrations and to be very tempered. Why? Because there's a bit of history there. A few years ago, there were some xenophobic attacks. Nigerians were victims of that. The South Africans weren't too happy. and there's, let's say, some tension really between two countries who see themselves as very important on the continent. In terms of the economy and everything, the two economies, South African one and Nigerian, are very dominant on the continent. So keep your eye on that. If you are a student of international relations, these are the things like you keep your eye out for and you study it in the classroom and wonder what this will mean for the two countries. Let's move on to two countries who seem to be very cool with each other and are quite similar, like Cote d'Ivoire and DR Congo. They are contesting the other semi-final of the AFCON. Let's start off with Cote d'Ivoire's run, and it's been a fairy tale run. It's been a run of death, resurrection, all the things you can imagine. Their player, Frank Kessié, says they are already dead, so they can't die again. The talk in Cote d'Ivoire is that the team has been nicknamed the Revenants. You know, they are called the Elephants. Well, they've been nicknamed the Revenants because they've come back from the dead so many times, nothing can kill them. Well, let's see if the Congolese can stop them. But let's see how the Ivorians made it from a very, very crazy group stage till this point of the competition. If you don't like football, I don't know what you like, because they can give you all kinds of interesting storylines. So the Elephants, you saw them at a point of the competition, they were going out. They sacked their coach. And when they were not even sure, or when they thought they had been eliminated, they sacked their coach. Emers Faye comes in, ex-player, guides them through, gets to the round of 16, thanks to Morocco, ironically. And then, you know, they go through every single step, and then they are here. So like Frank Kessié said, they're already dead. They are like zombies, revenants. Nothing can kill them. But guys, I'm sure there's a mortal part left.
There's plenty. There's plenty of it. They've shown, first of all, they're the luckiest side. Because when we're monitoring that thing, we're hoping that Ghana will go, then things happen and Ghana didn't go, and they got to go. Yeah. But they made up for their poor group stage performances with spirited performances. Okay. Sometimes it takes passion. Technical ability might be there, but when you show that passion, it gets you over. No matter how bad you might look, the fans will appreciate that. And that's what I think Ivory Coast have done well in this particular knockout stages. It's a different kind of opponent, but they can be assured that they would have opportunities. Faye has shown that he doesn't care who you are. And that's one of the most important things in a squad, that there's discipline. And with how he managed to bring in Seri.
Does it? I mean, being an ex-player, I'm sure it must count for something.
It can. In some countries where there's order and there's structure, they respect them. But here, I think the key thing was nobody would want to take a team that has been written off, take the helm of a team that's been written off, and he got the opportunity, and he's shown that he knows what he's doing. Hopefully, he continues to ride on Lady Luck, because he'll need a lot of it, especially with how depleted the side is at the moment. But okay. I'm sure we'll see them in the final.
Yeah, sure. We'll get into the human side of their team and the possible strengths and weaknesses in a few minutes. Well, Jan Pofi, like you cannot ride. I mean, at a point, the wheels have to come off at a point. Some people think it's now, some people think it's later. But it's interesting how the Ivorians have made it here.
Yes, I think so. I didn't personally think they would go through when they had just 3 points. But we still wanted them in because they are the guys that bring their fans to the tournament. And see, their fans are one factor. And then the other factor is the boys are willing to play. Okay. Now, when you go through such intense conversations about you, like the way the Black Stars felt after they were knocked out, maybe then suddenly the Black Stars are back in. You go there, you know, well, I have nothing to lose now. And it's the same with the coach and the players. They've been down there. And for Faye, he personally has nothing to lose. He's an assistant. Now he has opportunity. Let's make history together. Every single player within the team knows. Let's make history together. And Faye is a man. So, one, he understands the players. In the first case, when they played their first game, It was quite a number of changes within the team. But every single player did understand that, apart from maybe Kessie, who felt he should have started that game. But when Kessie came on, got that 2 important goals, I know definitely, okay, I understand you now. And every player will buy into the system. One thing he's done is brought in experience. A lot of experience with Max Gradel coming back into the team. What Gradel brings is quite different from all the youngsters, what they bring. We've seen Jeroen Boga starting the first game. It changed. Now they had Diakite, who was their powerhouse. Diakite was basically getting in the crosses, dribbling here and there. But the final touch wasn't coming. But Gradel comes onto the pitch and he brings something different. He is not rushed with the way Jeroen Boga is or Diakite is. He's quite calm. He goes into tackles when he needs to. And that's the kind of experience. You need experience on the pitch. I'm not saying experience in the context of Ghana, because in Ghana's scenario, you don't need experience. But when players bring in that kind of experience, brings the team together, there is that will to fight, then you know the coach is also doing something right. I don't give him all the credit, maybe just 22% out of the 100%. But I think he has some elements, getting the elements right, and he's got the players and the fans sticking together.
Okay. Belief is what is powering the Ivorians in the semi-final. We would love to see what happens to them when they take on the DRC. Let's see the DRC's own journey. They've had their own complex route to this point of the competition, but they are here nonetheless, and they are hoping that this will be their time where they add another AFCON title to what they already have. They have 2. They won the last one in the 70s. They are hoping that this year will be their year. Let's see how they got to the last 4 of the AFCON. Okay, so the DR Congo, that last clip or the last game was the one they beat Guinea 3-1. I remember predicting or telling my guests at the time that that game would be exciting. Everybody said it would be settled 1-0 or it would be settled via the penalty shootout. But the Congolese had other ideas. Jan Poffo, thoughts on the Congolese? They've won only 1 game in regulation time, but they are here in the last 4. The beauty of tournament football.
I think they are impressive. They are not getting goals, but with the dominance of play, interpositioning, changing passes, I think that side has been quite key for them in the way they play. And they have experience within their ranks. Look at Johan Wissa. He is quite a commanding figure in the team. Look at the last game and some of the situations that came in. He had to step in as a leader in the team. And they have Chancellor Mbamba, who is another player. Mm-hmm. So in every facet, in the midfield, they have experience in there. In attack, they have experience in there. It appears they have some form of understanding between them. I think some of the penalties they've conceded hasn't exactly helped them. I think they are a bit ragged, too combative in certain areas, which they are not.
Congolese have always been physical.
Yes.
Very, very physical side.
I think Atta Masuaku has been impressive up and down a bit, but, well, let's see how they bring it today.
Yavin, your thoughts?
Oh, no. Masuaku been very interesting, but he's yet to register an assist.
Has a goal.
But he has a goal.
He has a goal.
As a left back.
What we're expecting is for his crosses to find the head of his forwards, or just a bit more going forward. But, I mean, it's because of how they're playing. The Congolese have shown that, look, you can get to the promised land with a little effort. And they put in the effort when it mattered most. To take Egypt out, it's not an easy feat. To do what they did to Guinea as well, not so easy. And like Yao Ampofu said, it's about their defense. They have experience over there, but the challenge is they make rash decisions in there. Some of the decisions, yes, you could say maybe they are not penalties or whatnot, but that susceptibility to conceding penalties or fouls in and around their area is something that needs to be addressed. Against the team that, or host nation, the crowd will be on their side. Every call, they'll be hoping that it's theirs. So,
and that's pressure on the referee.
So you have to be very careful with your tackles, because early on in the game, they get one, there's a penalty, you're a goal down. And chasing a goal in a semi-final, unless you are Ghana or you are Egypt, it will be very difficult. So you want to go in there and just make sure you put your best foot forward. I'm hoping to see Silas start from the beginning.
Yes.
And then maybe Bakambu will finally find the net properly.
But Bakambu's looked really off colour. You know? He's looked really off colour. For a player with a great reputation as a scorer, he's looked very uncomfortable in this competition.
I think the chance creation has been very low from the team. The crosses are not coming at Masuaku, but they've held on to the ball a bit longer than you expect the attackers to. But Kabu himself hasn't helped himself when he gets the opportunities. These are the key opportunities he's got that you feel for a player of his pedigree to finish.
Penalty against Morocco.
I don't know, but I think they have to sort it a bit. Maybe put him on the bench, let him come from the maybe that will work for him today. But as it stands, he's not been the guy that we all expect of him.
All right, Yasinta, let's get to the touchpad. You want to highlight strengths, weaknesses, tendencies we should look out for, because the stakes are higher than before. You are 90 potential 120 minutes away from a final, and possibly 90 or 120 minutes away from playing the losers final, as some people call it, the third and fourth place game.
Well, a final is a final, so you take it. For Congo, the main two things to consider are their defensive shape and how they're giving away certain fouls. So we'll start with the penalties they've conceded. I know when you're defending, you always want to get to the ball first and what's not. That excessive use of force in a competition like this, where the referees have been commended so far, they would want to do what's right. They can choose to overlook it, but VAR over here has been very, very clear on the rules. They stick to what is the rule. So we look at the first penalty incident, which was against Egypt. And that one there, clearly you could see an elbow was in there. We'll get to that bit in a second. But just here, you can't go into tackles or challenges with your hands. If you want to do that, maybe you should play basketball or rugby. But right there, once the hand goes in there, and we're talking about the North Africans, they are very, very intelligent in terms of playing by the rules and the laws of the game to get certain things in their favor. You could tell is the form, it's not really the elbow, but he's clutching his face. Referee will definitely pay attention to it, and rightfully he calls the penalty. And well, it cost you a goal, and the opponents are way back in the game. You don't want to be seeing that. In this game, I personally think this was a soft call from the referee.
Okay.
Because per the laws of the game, I'm quite sure shoulder to shoulder is accepted. So I don't see what the issue is for Mbemba over here, because he's just he's shadowing his marker, his man, and he's making sure that, okay, you can't get to the ball. I'll make sure the ball eases straight to my keeper. So he's done the right thing by just walking with you, and just about when the ball's coming in, he nudges you.
Okay.
But I think it's in the shoulder. But again, excessive use of force, it could be seen as a foul or what's not.
Okay.
So probably why the foul was actually given. The second incident is how they defend corners. So looking at how well they played throughout the tournament, one thing that has been disappointing is for a team with such strong, physically blessed players, they are quite poor in defensive setups, especially at corners. So just here, from this corner, as the corner is coming in, I've watched this video enough times to ask, what are they doing? Are they doing zonal marking, or they are picking up men to mark? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
The entire Congolese team is in their penalty box.
How are you conceding from this?
This is 11 on 5.
Or 6. That's
11 on 6, yes. But so that's a 5-man advantage, if you like.
And let's just say each man has a man. Probably in their preparation, they know Saiz is good in the air,
yes.
Hakimi is good in the air, El Nasiri is good in the air. So they wanted to prepare for them adequately. But in doing this, they've overcrowded their area and somehow still prevented the opponent from scoring. Because my key person to look at over here is Kakuta. you are defending a corner, you're looking at where the corner is coming from, but you're not paying attention to the player that you're marking. And that's Hakimi. Hakimi just goes past him. And with the number of players they have in the box, if they were quite clear on what they were doing in terms of everyone has a zone or everyone has a man, it might help them, because you play against an Ivory Coast side that they would try and make certain runs. Haller is in there. Fofana is in there. They've got Frankesi is in there. They've got enough players to make certain runs that will put you in trouble. So you want to be very clear on how you want to defend. And we see from this that, look, even as the ball comes in, you even have another situation where it's 1, 2, 3, 4 against 2 players, and they still somehow miss the ball. And it falls straight to him. And all he has to do is just guide the ball into the net. Ideally, man on the line should be saving that. But again, if you are not quite clear on how you want to defend, you will give away opportunities like that. And a team like the Côte d'Ivoire are a very, very strong team when they put the ball into the box, because they've got big men that will attack it. So, and the quality of the ball also makes it difficult for you to deal with. But if this is anything to go by, DRC have to be very, very cautious when they are defending the corners.
Interesting stuff there. Jan Pofo, I don't know whether you have something to say.
I think sometimes I don't understand why we have shifted away from the old way of defending corners, where you have 2 players on the right and left. I know offside is one of the reasons, but I think that provided better shield, better protection than what we are seeing today. That man on the line, he had to move across to clear the ball. If he was on the line, it would have been easy to clear it out.
Okay. All right. Yafun?
Yeah, I thought this was another game, but we'll move to the...
Yes, let's talk about the Ivorians.
The Ivorians. Definitely a gifted side when they have their day. And when they have that purpose about them, especially when they go a goal down, you see a different side to them. Urgency is in there. But when the game is tied, or when they are not having the opportunity to play a bit of the football, they tend to concede certain chances that I think are worth looking at for the opponents. Early on in the draw, I think this is the wrong game. It's here. Against Mali. The goal that was scored by Mali is a clear sign of people aren't paying attention. And if you have your middle men, closing men as they should, you definitely be in a better position. When this game started off, we saw different players playing in the back 5 for Ivory Coast. But I think the key change that probably changed things for Ivory Coast was the introduction of Singo. When he came in there was just a presence and someone that could drive with the ball, because Indika, he's got good passing range, but in terms of progressing the ball, sometimes he could be pushed off the ball. And Boli, I wouldn't trust him with the ball at his feet. But Singo was able to help them move from a back 5 into back 4, because he moved into right back and move balls into the area. But with this goal, you had 5 men at the back. Then you have the luxury of Frankesi, Seri, and Fofana in here. This shot that came in from Nene should not be coming in, because once that man is beaten, you know that a shot is coming in. And Seri, ideally, should be moving straight to the man. Because that's... Your defenders have this man, and then, right back shouldn't be getting engaged. He should still be focusing on this man. But Seri is the only person that can stop this attack.
Okay.
And all he had to do was step up to the man and leave the rest for Fofana, because he's got the number 11. But Seri chose to, one more second, and because he's got the technical ability, where he puts it, there's nothing you can do. Again, Seems the other chance is missing. But there was another opportunity for Senegal. We'll look at Senegal. One other aspect of Ivory Coast throughout the tournament is they've started very, very slowly, except the first game where they were up for it. From then, it's just gone downhill where they've conceded in the first half of every game. Right at the beginning of this game, we saw one of the problems that Ivory Coast have shown throughout the tournament. They don't close their men. That cross from Mane shouldn't be coming in. Aurier should be ensuring that he's first to Mane. Just prevent the ball from coming in, because as much as you have the numerical advantage, you have the problem of your opponent being in the area. If your opponent is in the area, all he has to do is take a touch. You can't tackle him. Tackling him wrongly is a foul. And they allow him time on the ball. To have this many men in the box and the opponent still scores is quite concerning. He takes a touch, and all he has to do is pick a spot. And once that ball went in, again, because they concede so early, their plan just it turns around. You look at Equatorial Guinea, how they conceded. Once they conceded, again, they were all over the place. Yeah. It seems that mentally, when they concede, until Faye has another chat with them at halftime, they tend to be all over the place. And that's something that needs to be curbed if they're facing a team that would go at them like DRC would. So we look at the Equatorial Guinea goals, which shows a lot of the problems that I think have been solved to an extent. I don't know how you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't want to draw the midfielders in there, but you've got enough players back. This ball should not be coming in, because ideally, you know that defender has that player. Ideally, he should be drawing himself closer to this player. And then he has the opportunity to attack that ball. Okay. So the ball doesn't come in. But as soon as they allow him to run on the ball a bit more, all he has to do is pass it across goal. And Nsue showing that, I don't know where he's got the ability to finish from, but that's a delicate touch that just puts them behind. And again, you look at the fact that it's before halftime. Once they concede, they just seem to be all over the place. And then this goal, there's not much that could be done here, because I remember they made all the changes possible to try and get as many attacking players on to try and salvage something. But when there's a 2v1, these two players, they've done their parts. They've run with the players, but they are supposed to drive them away from goal. So you want to be in a situation where he can't pass. You're trying to push him further away from goal, as well as Frankesi now covering this player. So he can't pass. So all he has to do is go across goal and try and shoot. Go across goal, and your players regroup, and you prevent the shot. But they made it very easy, and Nsue showing that just a brilliant finish. Straight. Keeper couldn't do anything about that. Again, same thing here. If you are isolated against the player, you want to try your best to move the player away from your box. But again, because they're chasing the game, the mentality is, okay, let's find a way to just try and get a goal. And once they move the ball wide, well, Fofana in the last game, he made certain saves, which I agree with, where he pushed it away from goal.
But in this case?
Here, he lets himself down. It should be going here. Or you're saving it for starters, but then he pushes it back. He
decides to do a Richard Ofori.
Everything is Richard Ofori in Ghana. Pushes it back into the path, and all he had to do was, again, he even scuffed the shots, but still managed to get it.
All right, as we wrap it up, we just have a couple of minutes. So we've highlighted strengths, weaknesses. For Cote d'Ivoire, what should be we've spoken a lot about the determination and everything, but away from all of that, if you were Emerse Faye, how do you plan for such a game? You've had so many chances to die in the competition. You've evaded them. Semi-final, play in front of fans against DR Congo. What do you think will be the perfect plan for such a game?
I think he started it. First, it was changing the midfield three. So he had 3 CMs, Kese, Ibrahim Sangare, and Fofana. Seko Fofana. So these were 3. They were not defensive. So the first thing he did was bring in Chinseri, who is quite more defensive than all these 3 players. And that was good news. And then the other thing was bringing in experience in Max Gradel into the team. I think Gradel still in the team with the Akite off will help the team. But I think you should stick to what they did in the last game, kept the back line. Now, the player who was causing the errors, Kusunu is not available anymore. So I think they should trust more combative defenders to come in and change the style for them. Same style, but more energy. Start it well, and then you get it done.
Predictions, guys?
For this game or?
The 2 semi-finals.
Oh, Nigeria to win on penalties.
Nigeria to win on penalties.
It will be a scoring game, and then they'll win on penalties, just so that we can see that Williams can be beaten.
Okay, and you?
I think the thing with Williams is the way he saves the penalties, one side. So I pick a pattern of 10 penalties saved by Williams, and I noticed when you go down to the side, to the right and left, it was easy for him to save. And when you elevate the ball a bit, then he finds it difficult.
Okay.
So you can even go through the middle. He's quite good with diving, so you just have to know where to.
Okay.
So I think I'll go for Nigeria 2-0 win.
Nigeria 2-0 win. What about the second semi?
3-1 Ivory Coast.
3-1 Côte d'Ivoire. Okay. Y'all from Pong final word?
La Côte d'Ivoire pour victory.
La Côte d'Ivoire to win.
Oui. Day. 0.
Day à 0.
Yeah,
okay, on va voir. All right, we'll see how it goes. The semi-finals happening today, 5 p.m., 8 p.m. There's live radio commentary on Citi 97.3 FM. There's all of that and more coming up, subsequent bulletins and everything. But tomorrow we'll be back here to run the rule over the semi-finals, how they played out, look ahead to the final that will be played over the weekend. But thank you for watching. This has been another episode of the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV, proudly brought to us by Bet Power. My name is Nathan Kwao. Do stick and say there's more football. Football made in Ghana is coming up next on Citi TV. Stay tuned, but enjoy the rest of your day.